Good morning, everyone. Hopefully, everyone's doing well. I'm here with Brandon Breth today. He is from the Entrepreneur Source, and he is a coach that helps you find the perfect franchise. And Brandon, welcome. We're so excited to have you here with us today.
Well, thank you. I am very excited to be here, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this with me.
Yeah, no problem at all. Brandon, I'd love to dive right into some questions with you. So, can you tell me a little bit about your background and I guess what inspired you to become a career ownership coach?
Sure. Amanda, I don't think my story is very different from a lot of other people in that I had a very long traditional career. I started in big box retail and I did that for 20 years. Um, I did a lot of multi unit leadership. I'm based out of New Orleans, worked a lot in the southeastern part of the United States. and and I was good at it. There was no issue other than it was just stale. In retail, the same holidays happen every year, the same merchandise shows up every year, and it just becomes just kind of redundant. So I knew I needed a change. Well, that change for me was moving into healthcare. And I made a jump, big industry change, went into healthcare, and spent about 3.5 years literally beating my head against the wall because I did not take the right time to figure out, would that be the right organization for me? Right. I spent a lot of time showing them why I would be good for them, but it wasn't right for me. And so I was not accustomed to the level of micromanagement, bureaucracy, red tape, death by meeting that happened in that corporate environment. I had been in the field for 20 something years, right? So I was used to a lot of freedom and autonomy. So I was at a point where stress was manifesting itself through like an eye twitch. Like I would be in a meeting, my eye would start twitching and I could not control it. That is how miserable I was. My phone rings. It's a coach from the Entrepreneur Source saying, "Hey, you want to have a conversation?" And absolutely, let's have a conversation. And I will tell you what I help my clients do, right? We go through a journey of discovery, we look at different possibilities. I looked at several possibilities. For me, everything the Entrepreneur Source does and offers resonated. And so it was a pretty emotional connection. I knew pretty quickly this is what I wanted to do. And 6 years later, I still love what I'm doing.
Oh, that's amazing. And we have some similarities right off the bat because I came from big box retail as well. And when you're in it, I always talked about retail so much and the fact that I loved it. I loved every minute because every day was changing, but yet it was the same at the same time with, as you mentioned, with all the normal holidays, the merchandise and everything coming through. But it is an environment that I think shaped who I am, and I think it's probably helped shape who you are as well. And it's I love retail. But exciting that you're moving into, or you have moved into the franchising side of things. So you work with a variety of different people. And when you're working with all of your different clients, what's your process for understanding their goals and their skills and their needs and maybe their financial needs before you start recommending franchise options to them?
So that's a great question. And the truth is there's a lot of things that happen before we ever talk about franchise business ownership. I really do need to understand from someone not just who they are as a person, what motivates them to action, what's their decision making look like, how do they approach decisions. So we spend time getting to know our clients, all of us who do this at the Entrepreneur Source, but I spend time with my clients and I get to know them on who they are as a person, right? How do they show up? Then we spend time on what are their goals, short-term goals to long-term goals. And I really want to know what someone's aspiring to have in their lives 10 years from now, from an income standpoint, a lifestyle standpoint. Maybe they have some longer term wealth or equity goal that they're aspiring to. So I want to understand that, not just for them, but for their family as well, because we want to paint a pretty big picture. After we do that, then we start to talk about business ownership and could business ownership be an option? And while I specialize in franchising and licensing models, the truth is that is not right for everyone. And so I want people to understand all types of business to figure out what path they ought to be going in. And that may include staying in traditional employment.
Mhm.
If business ownership is right for them and franchise business ownership could be a fit for the goals that they have set, then I start to educate on what that is, what the world of franchising really looks like. And um, I'm going to maybe tell you a little bit of a secret here because it's not a matching. I don't match for my clients, right? I want to understand your skills. I want to understand what you like to do, what you want to bring to the table. And then I show the biggest variety of possibilities that I can show in three. I only show three, but I let my clients start to fine tune what's really important for them. And so it's a very much a collaborative effort to understand here's what's out there. There's things you probably don't even know exist, not just as a business, but as how you would run that business. Let's
Mhm.
understand it. Then it'll start to become clear where your priorities lie, what's really important to you, what's not. And then we begin to narrow and figure out what could be the best fit for you.
I love that approach. And I love that you have mentioned that not everyone is made for business ownership, made for that entrepreneurial side of things. It may not be a good fit. And I think that's so important that you, as a coach, you're bringing to the table as well, because you're not steering them in the wrong direction. And so I love that approach. That's fantastic. So, when it comes to the entrepreneur source, you have a variety of different franchises and licensing models that you can showcase at a variety of different times. So, how do you go about evaluating those franchises before you actually recommend them to your clients?
The entrepreneur source. So again, little inside baseball here. We have a team of people who that's what they focus on at the entrepreneur source. They focus on really looking at franchisors and licensors that are out there. They work with them, understand the model, and determine they could be a good fit to be connected with us and in our system. And those franchisors and licensors even go through training and education on the fact that our clients are different. Our clients are not the ready, willing, and able coming in that know they want something. They want to be educated. They want to learn. They want a safe space. So we have that collaboration with the over 200 models that we work with. And it's always changing. We always have some coming in, some maybe taking a pause and leaving our system. But it's always a nice variety. I take that pool and then I start to look at um, what do again, I said this a minute ago, but I really focus on what skills do you have that you bring to the table because it's in corporate America. I'm going to back up and say it this way, right? How many times has somebody wanted to leave an industry, right? They want to switch industries, but they can't switch industries, even though they have every skill for that job in that other industry. That industry does not recognize the skills. They only care about the industry experience. It's the most ridiculous thing in corporate America. But and there's study after study after study that says skills can translate. You can teach the industry, but corporate America just fails, right? That's what I focus on. Let's look at your skill sets. Let's look at what you can do, what you enjoy doing. That can show up in a way that you didn't even appreciate or understand, right? For
Mhm.
me, I was a multi-unit leader. Most of my coaching, my leadership was looking at a windshield while I was driving between stores or sitting at an airport or home in my office. It wasn't in front of someone every day that and I enjoyed that mentoring and leadership and empowering people. So that's what I get to do now on a daily basis. I had the skill. I knew nothing about franchising, but I had the skill set that I could transition into this. That's what I look for my clients.
I love that. So maybe walk me through an example of a challenging client that you had when it came to a placement. How did you work through maybe finding the right fit? Even after you presented three, maybe those three weren't the right fit, for example.
So that happens about 40% of the time, right? I'll be candid about that. What I tell clients is I'm not trying to find again, I'm not a matching service, right? I'm trying to help you learn and understand. So if the first three that I show are not right, all I ask is that you learn enough about that possibility to be able to tell me what you liked about it and what you have concerns about. Let's talk through it. As we go through those three, and let's say we have three and none of them are the right fit, there's still something about all three that my client will like. It's 100% of the time that is true.
Mhm.
So there'll be something they're concerned about, whatever that is. Let's debrief. Let's talk about it. Let's really understand. Once I have that knowledge, again, they're fine tuning. Once I have that knowledge, now I can go back and look for something else that much more specific to what they're identifying that they need, right?
Yeah.
I know I want brick and mortar. I know I want home base. I know I want less than 5 employees at maturity. I know I want to earn X and need to have the ability to scale into 5 locations, right? So that needs to be available. Whatever the thing is, we can narrow in on, but they set the focus.
Yeah, they guide the whole process. Ultimately, you start the initial conversations, you bring those resources and things that you're bringing to the table, and then they take it from there. And it's really collaborative. It sounds.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
I really like that.
I tell people all the time, I don't make anybody do anything. I'm here to show you what's out there, help you learn about it. Make sure you get the right information so that you
Yeah,
feel good about the choice you make, whether it is to start a business or not start a business. I want you to
yeah,
feel good about wherever that lands.
I love that. How do you adjust your approach to people that have different financial needs?
So there are different funding paths, different programs that are out there. And some clients were able to move through a journey straight through because they show up maybe with availability to resources or funding that can happen straight away. Other people need more time. I had a client last year. We started working together early in the year. I think it was around March. And at that moment in time, the client was not employed, had a credit score below 650, had some debt, and actually was even separated from their spouse, living in different states. But we talked, and they were very interested. They knew business ownership is something they wanted to do. So we still did everything I do with a client. We even talked about different possibilities, and I gave them some education. And then we stayed in touch. And here's what you need to do. And that person got a job, reconciled with their spouse. Spouse ended up moving to where they were, and they were back together. They started paying down debt. They got their credit score up, and we kept looking and learning about possibilities. And at the point where they were able to get qualified for some, in this case, unsecured funding, they were able to do it, put their funding together, and launch their business about 10 months after we started working together.
Wow.
So it can happen. And so I say, if there is a will,
Yeah.
you will find a path. It just, for some people, it may be right away. Other people, it may take longer.
Yeah. And you said you weren't a matchmaker. Here you are putting couples back together.
Yeah. I won't take credit for that, but look, the truth is, people, you know, making the step into business ownership, there are many things in your life that you are working through with a client, helping them understand the positive and the opportunistic things that may happen by being a business owner. And so sometimes these things will inevitably come up, and
Yeah.
uh, sometimes people just need somebody to talk to. And,
Absolutely. I
and I can
completely
do that
agree.
while weaving in, let's keep the focus on what the end goal is.
Yeah, I love that. So now last question for you today, Brandon, is what since you've been in franchising for a variety of years now, what do you believe is the biggest misconception about franchising?
Okay, that's a really great question, Amanda. I would say that probably most people don't really understand the win-win structure of franchising. You know, a lot of people initially think that franchising is the franchisor doesn't believe in their model enough. That's why they're not expanding it. They're just selling it so other people can do it. Or they think that the franchisor is collecting all these fees, solely to take their money, and it's a money grab for the franchisor. And I do have to help people understand that the vast majority of franchising is really built on a win-win scenario. Franchisor does not make money if the franchisee does not make money, right? The franchisor wants the franchisee to succeed. They want the franchisee to pay as much in royalties as they possibly can, which means they are earning as much as they possibly can. And so there's a lot of resources that come to bear, a lot of training, education, ongoing support that franchisors will bring to the table with their franchisee. But it is as important that the franchisee approach the relationship from a win-win perspective as it is for the franchisor to approach the relationship from that same win-win perspective. And a lot of times, I think people assume they're going into something that's not going to be that type of relationship, and they bring their corporate baggage to the table,
Yes,
and that can get in the way. And so
definitely.
I try to help educate people understand that before they ever start a business, so they are approaching it and entering into it with the right mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Mindset is key. Mindset is key in business ownership as a whole because it's not always easy either. I mean, nothing that we do in this life is easy, but the relationship between a franchisor and a franchisee is almost like a pendulum. It's always going back and forth, trying to support each other and growing a beautiful business. And so I love your perspective. Absolutely. Win-win is the best, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But Brandon, thank you so much.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was any last comments for me today?
Uh, Look, I just think that people owe it to themselves to understand what options are out there and what business ownership could look like. It may not be right for you to do, but you owe it to yourself to just see, if I could get over that hump and bet on myself, what would it look like? And learn about it. And that's what we do at the Entrepreneur Source. We help people do it in a very safe space with no pressure. And that way, if it's right, we'll get there. If it's not, we'll get there.
Yeah, you'll get there either way. You'll figure out what that next path, whether it's career ownership, whether it's a career, whether it's business ownership, licensing, franchising, anything, you'll figure that out together, which is awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Brandon. I really appreciate it.